Hello, everybody, and welcome to WASD20. My name is Nate, and today I am joined by some good friends of mine and the crew of Absolute Tabletop, the indie publishing company, publishing pretty sweet RPG books. No, let me rephrase that. Really sweet RPG books. And today we're going to be talking about their latest project, which is a Kickstarter. Oath of the Frozen King adventure kit. And so I thought we could start off just by talking about, you guys can introduce yourselves and talk about what AbTab is, what Absolute Tabletop is. Just briefly, I'm going to cut you off after a few minutes because I really want to get some good time talking about the actual Kickstarter and Oath of the Frozen King and all that good stuff. But Tim, why don't you introduce yourself first and tell us, what is Absolute Tabletop? How would you describe it? And the other guys can chip in if you missed something.
For sure. So I'm Tim, and I am 1/4 of Absolute Tabletop, and I run the channel Tabletop Terrors with my brother James here. Absolute Tabletop is 4 guys who write RPG supplements that we would want to use at our table. They're very heavy on inspiration, and we try to make sure that they're, I think, from a different approach than other books that we see, really trying to put our stamp on things and making them accessible for players of all skill levels.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. And how long have you guys been around as a company?
Ooh, gosh, Matt, how long has it been?
September of 2015.
Yeah, September 2015. So what is that? Under 2 years, but longer than one.
Yeah,
1.5. Some might say.
One and a half Z fries from Jack.
See, that math is hard. We can do 1/4 of Absolute Tabletop. Absolute Tabletop has taught me how to divide by 4 and 25%. Anything else goes right over my head every time.
It's too much.
Yeah. So, well, cool. Well, I'm gonna first of all say that there are links in the description for. First off, the Kickstarter, which will be the focus of this little interview here. And also AbsoluteTabletop.com, your guys' website that has all the stuff you've done in the past too. And you've built up quite a library. It's pretty impressive since September 2015. You look at that supplement, there are very few companies that produce like you guys have. And yeah, so I just want to say that's impressive. And the quality of them, just look at the reviews, all the viewers out there. They're really good. Why don't we get quick introductions from the other guys? Matt, who is you?
Is Matt Click, and I run the YouTube channel A Fistful of Dice, and I also make RPG supplements with these guys. I'm mostly like the editor, proofreader guy. I also write a lot of content. And James and I kind of tag team doing the bulk of the layout, laying out the actual supplements and putting the art in there and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Very cool. James.
I'm James.
What would you say you do here?
So while we all work on the books, we all write and edit and do a lot of things. We all kind of have our own things that we do. And I would say my chief job is a lot of the internet stuff, some of the web stuff, as far as making sure the website works and making sure people can get their Harbinger play tests and, kind of messing with figuring out the new features of MailChimp and getting excited with them, with Matt and stuff. So I would say that's the main thing that I do, though. Like I said, we all write and kind of put our own stamp on the books, as well as, like Matt said, we kind of tag team the layout.
Cool. Barker.
What are the odds? That was nice. I get all the things off of the high shelves if I need to. Matt sometimes helps with that though, so that's not completely just me. But the main things I do are the bookkeeping, the bookkeeping, and as well as being kind of we all kind of do writing and editing, like everyone said. We also each have our own foci, if I may. Like, Matt, you are hitting up the Aeronaut stuff. Tim and James rocking Dragon Grin, rocking a lot of these adventure books. Horror at Misty Meadows was their brainchild. And my stuff is the more system agnostic, just like inspirational, be a better game master, be a better world, building stuff that's not necessarily jonesed in on a specific system or setting that I think everybody, or that we think everybody can get the hang of. So that is what I do here.
Very cool. So let's jump into the Kickstarter now. First off, I'm gonna click the link here just so I can get the exact numbers. But you guys are doing amazingly well. Your goal was to raise $500 for Oath of the Frozen King,
Dude.
and you are currently at $13,294. So congrats on that.
Thank you. Thank you anybody watching. Like, this is insane. Seriously, the overwhelming support. It's been a tidal wave, and I know I speak for everyone when I say that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm really happy for you guys. Let's talk about what Oath of the Frozen King is. First off, what is an adventure kit? This is not a term that I've heard used from other RPG companies. How would you describe an adventure kit?
To me, an adventure kit is something that can give you preparation at the speed of your imagination. The idea is that when I'm prepping a game, if I'm using a full module, I have to read the entire thing. I don't have that kind of time to invest every time I want to run a one-shot. Sometimes my inspiration's going way faster than that. An adventure kit is modular. It's everything you need, including locations, NPCs, monsters, encounters, and nothing that you don't. So we give you the pieces, and it was Matt's description, actually, that it's a lot like a model kit. You take that inspirational glue and you combine the adventure kit in any way you want. I like to think of it like containers. Take the location, what encounter you're going to drop in there, what NPC, what pieces are you going to put in there to make it your own? And what do you guys think?
Yeah, and just to expand on that a little bit, I would say that the sort of the crux of this, and like the reason why we sort of wanted to make something a little bit new, is from running adventure modules and from writing adventure modules, because we've written like traditional adventure modules. There's three of them up on our website. And what it came down to was we found that we and a lot of other game masters like to take pieces from adventure modules. You take encounters, you take non-player characters, you take, quests and things like that, and you sort of distill it down to the stuff that you like and you're going to use, and then you build, your adventure off of that. And so it sort of became this thing where it's like, what if we just gave people that? And what if we designed it intentionally that way? Like, instead of, building something that very few people are going to run exactly as it's written, why don't we just give them the pieces that are designed to just fit together in any order and any shape that they want? So that's where the inspiration sort of came from.
Yeah, super cool.
To me, it was sort of the next step. We do a lot of roll tables, and we try to make sure things are inspiring, and we kind of tweak everything we've done a little bit. And then we wrote an adventure module. And it had some cool random parts or whatever, and we had like alternate endings, but I loved the idea of, the adventure kits where you're like, we're going to basically do what we do with everything, which is make it into roll tables, but kind of fit each other and make a whole book out of it where you can run an adventure. So that's really exciting.
I think they nailed it basically. I mean, that's what an adventure kit is. And just to add something on top of it, it's been important to us that it's usable by any GM. Whether you like to sit for hours before the game and read through the adventure kit and comb through it and pick everything you want, or whether you're like, I got to run a game in 5 minutes, Oath of the Frozen King, let's rock and roll. It's easy to do no matter what. That's kind of the balance that we're trying to strike.
Yeah, for sure. That's cool. And I will say I've really appreciated, your adventure modules have been good at trying to be open. The ones you've had, trying to have lots of options and different paths and just inspiration and things like that. And I also really appreciated, which one was it? I think it was Stone Rift, that had basically a mini adventure module in the back, in addition to like, hey, here's a bunch of setting stuff and NPC stuff. For you to run anything you want, really. And this is seems like kind of an evolution of that. But my question is, do you guys see yourself going back to writing traditional adventure modules again in the future?
I think that your phrasing of it being an evolution is so dead on, because if you look at our adventure modules and if you look at a book like Stone Rift, like, were already working on the adventure kit like years ago, because the way that we structure those and the way that we lay those out, if you look at something like Sewers Under Sandwall, which is written completely non-linearly, you can do it in any order you want. And we have the room generator where you can generate any amount of encounters and rooms and stuff and sort of extend the adventure as long as you want. And then with Stone Rift having, like you're saying, like rolling up the different encounters and quest lines and stuff, like absolutely that's the evolution there. And having written an adventure kit and seeing the response that it's getting, I say that for me, like my interest right now is in adventure kits and putting out more adventure kits. But I'm not going to say that we're never going to write a traditional adventure module ever again, because those are really fun as well to write, for sure.
Yeah. And I think a big point is that there's 4 of us. And so, you know, we have some people in the community who have actually asked us for books the size of, you know, Storm King's Thunder, and said, well, will you do a world book that is also an adventure? And the answer is we can't. There's 4 of us here. That would take us 2 years. And so the adventure kit to us is also a way to put out that same style of thing, but scaled down in a way that 4 people can do it, but it's not at a loss. It's actually to the gain of all the people who are using it, because when you use Oath of the Frozen King, you don't have to know the story. You can figure out the story while you put it together. And I don't know of an RPG product currently that is designed to do that from the beginning. And so I think I'm with Matt. I don't put adventures, like, I'm not going to stamp it with never, but I don't know why I'd go back anytime soon.
It's like being like, hey, nice Ferrari. You ever going to drive that Prius again? Maybe for the gas mileage, you know, if it's working well.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing, is like sort of like what Tim was touching on, the idea that we've made, you know, Stone Rift, and that's really cool, and there's a lot of lore, but we had some people tell us, you know, it's hard to use that. There's a lot of inspiration, and it's really cool, but if you're not looking for a book about Thunder Dwarves, you know, it's not for you. And I love that book, and it's so cool, but it can't be argued that it's not kind of specific. And I feel like adventure kits opens us up to cover a lot more lore, but also say, hey, this book can be for everybody, so that it's not just, like I said, I love Stone Rift, and I love the adventure in the back. Actually, somehow managed to forget about it. I love that adventure, but that adventure is very linear. I mean, we were supposed to write a short one, and it turned out to be like a full session, you know. But either way, the adventure kits are going to be a really cool way to say, listen, I'm not going to, you know, we can't spend the 2 years to write a crore source book, but we can have an adventure kit that gives you a really good idea that'll make you coming back for more. And as a creator, it's exciting because we don't take 2 years on a book. And hopefully it will be exciting for people, so that they say, oh, this is really cool, but even though I'm not interested in, you know, a crazy Blood Moon world where water is really scarce, there's some really cool NPCs in here and awesome locations, and there's this really cool encounter where, you know, you have to go through the bones of this crazy creature. I'm like, anybody can use it. So I'm really excited about that. So it's hard to imagine going back to normal adventures, because we've already sort of dipped our toe in, but what if we could make it so anything could happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cool. I want to recognize one thing that's come up in the chat a couple times, and that is Boba Fett. So let's just officially recognize for the chat that, yeah, you guys are not seeing things. This was absolutely coincidental. But yes.
What if I told you I almost wore my Boba Fett shirt and was like, no, I'm going to go with Brigade Con?
And then someone pointed out, do you have one on your wall, Barker? Or is that
there's a Boba Fett on his wall. Yeah.
I got 9 in the hallway.
On the shelf over there. You guys can't. Well, anyway, there's a little Disney Infinity Boba Fett over there. Yeah. Okay. So that happened. How embarrassing. Show up to school and she's wearing the same pants as me. All right.
Nina was looking at people's pants, though.
So anyway, and if you guys do have questions in the chat for the guys here at AbTab, drop them down there. I'll try to keep track, and we can hopefully get to some of those too. There's some, yeah, John Jarvis says, Crore Adventure Kit, shut up and take my money. Yeah, he's right. But yeah, it is cool, and it's exciting that, you know, it seems like something, you guys are right, for a company your size, this is something that's like, this is an efficient thing for you too, and it's efficient. It's easier to make than an adventure module, I would guess. I don't know, but more importantly, it's truer to the way that a lot of us use adventure modules, and truer to the type of product that a lot of us are looking for, which is something kind of in betweenish. So yeah.
And I think another thing is that because we are breaking it down into the pieces, you'll be able to use multiple adventure kits together. So even if you want to run Oath of the Frozen King, and there's a Kror one out, and there's a, you know, an NKO one out, but you like this encounter, but this NPC had a really cool secret, you can kind of mix them all together, but you can still say, oh, but it's in the frozen, you know, tundras of Varnholm, but I grabbed the NPC from Kror and I grabbed the encounter from NKO, or vice versa, and nobody would ever know. Even if you read all of them, it would be very difficult to pick them out unless you were an expert of like, oh, well, that must be from here and that's from there. So especially once there's a couple, it will just begin to sort of, you can sort of prep anything, you know,
right,
what I mean? And pull stuff like immediately.
The thing that I think sets it apart from the beginning is that this book doesn't start out telling you, okay, here are the plot hooks, you know, get your players to bite this juicy steak, and that's how you get it started. No, it says, here are some real world conflicts that are going on around the players. Ignore them or don't. You choose, but here's what's happening in this place. Okay, so you're getting a sense of conflict already. But then this thing kicks off with a quest generator. And it's like, if you just watched Ocean's 11 last night and you're feeling like you want to run a heist, the bones are there. All the characters are there. You just give them slightly different motives. You just kind of paint it a little differently. But the quest can be totally, you know, different. You just choose your location, the encounter, etc. Or you want to run it like a, you know, a straight murder dungeon, meat grinder, you can do that too. And I like that it starts off encouraging you, hey, what's your version of this story?
Yeah, and another thing that I will never forget, and I hope this happens, is when a long time ago, before it was called an adventure kit, Tim asked me, he's like, I don't think there's anything out there like this, but what if there was like something you could buy where like you literally pull it off the shelf and you say, hey, you want to run, you know, through Oath of the Frozen King tonight? Similar, like if it was a World of Warcraft dungeon, we're like, oh, you know, guys, we're gonna gather up, we're gonna do Stratholme tonight. It's like, oh, we're gonna, you know, get together and let's see, we're gonna, you know, Joe's gonna run us through his Oath of the Frozen King, and just that style of like literally, the book is set up in such a way that you can spend time prepping, or you can grab it off the shelf and randomly roll stuff as you go through, and it's gonna take a little more mental gymnastics to tie it all together, but enough pieces should be there that by the end, your players will say, wow, it's hard to tell that you were making that up as you went.
Yeah. And yeah, for me, like I'm looking at it. Okay, a couple of things that I meant to say. One is, it's really cool how you guys have some reskinning this adventure stuff in here. So, you know, I'll just read a couple. Oath of the Forest King, and I think, didn't someone run that? Who was that?
Yeah, I ran Oath of the Forest King for my in-laws with and it was totally improv. And then I also think Drake from the RPG Construct did like a Fae themed Oath of the Frozen King as well. So yeah, a few people have done like forest theme reskins of it.
Right. So, you know, taking place in an enchanted wood instead of this very icy mountainous region. And there's, you know, Oath of the Desert Prince, Sand and Heat, you know, Oath of the Buried Emperor, you know, deep underground, stone and earth, and more. Wait, I love this one. Oath of the Serpent King, jungles and vines, deep in a savage land. So yeah, I love that. So that's really cool. And then also, you know, as you know, even though you guys have given like this sandbox of tools that's like so cool, like I think a lot of us probably can't help but, you know, immediately like reskinning things. And I mean, it's just the way we DM, and just, you know, I guess like just tweaking things. Like I read one little page of this and I get inspired, and I'm already off totally writing something different and not using the rest of the book. And yet, if that tells me also that I can go back and I can read another page and have a total different adventure and just like get inspired really easily. So anyway, I'm loving it so far. And I also want to tell people that I will be running a game this Saturday night, if you don't already know that, using this. So make sure you tune in for that. I guess one thing, let's talk about the setting a little bit. Oath of the Frozen King. Where did that idea come from? I guess what is maybe a very basic setting or story synopsis, and where did that idea come from?
So the truth is, the very bare bones truth is that we're good friends with Heroic Maps. And, I sort of started heading up this project. And my first thing was to show the guys, hey, here's a proof of concept. That's one of the things we do at AbTab is doesn't have to be perfect. It's progress over perfection, but let me show you something ugly and we'll make it pretty together. And so I started putting that together, and quite literally, I just went to Drive Through RPG and went to Heroic Maps page, and the first one I saw was just an ice map. It's called like Tomb of the Frost Giant King or something like that. And before we knew exactly what their level of involvement was, we work well together, and they let us license their maps. And I thought, okay, cool. So I just dropped it in there, and as proof of concept, planning on changing it, really. It started out with, okay, Oath of the Frozen King. And I just titled it that. And then put together a proof of concept, showed the guys, they loved it. Everyone started jumping in and kind of riffing off of it. And then that's just what it became. And that's what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like I mentioned earlier, Tim had that idea for like, how do we make something where someone can grab it off the shelf and just go for it? And that's kind of partly, I think, where I don't know exactly like how the idea formed, because Tim and Matt worked on it a lot before I really got a chance to look at it. But that was where it wasn't just like Oath of the Frozen King, a new adventure by Absolute Tabletop. It was like, we're going to do something different with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember Tim and I were working on the Bones of the Adventure kit like through Christmas. Like I think I was over like at my in-laws for Christmas. Like I think it was Christmas Eve, and I'm sitting there with my Chromebook on my lap, just like, oh, this is so awesome. And I'm like just working on the adventure kit while people are opening presents, because that's the sort of person that I am.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So some good questions here. How many pages is it looking like the book will be? I assume it's grown a little bit with some of the stretch goals and stuff.
Everything we try to throw out there is always an estimate until the project closes. Like it always is, but it is pretty close to kind of between 40 and 50 pages is kind of our hovering around there is our goal. And that includes the stretch goals, that includes the art, that includes all the stuff that we are planning to add or might add if those stretch goals are met. And so we're trying to keep it, I think this is a Matt term, it might be a Tim term, I always mix them up, lean, mean, and ready to use on the fly. That is the goal, is to keep it like, for me, I'm that 5 minute before the game GM, for me to be able to grab it and use it, and still have the advanced GM who likes the prep to be able to use it as well. It's important that it doesn't turn into a Sword Coast Adventures guide or, a bigger, like larger book that Tim was talking about that we just can't do with the four of us without sacrificing lambs to the slaughter, as well as our marriages and engagements for James.
And I was going to say something else before I covered the thing I had to, but then Barker started slaughtering lambs or something. Okay, but somebody... Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to get to this question, and you're probably on the same track, James. What you looking at?
Oh, no, I was going to say Mike Nicholson, real quick. He asked about the pledge level, so I thought we could go over that real fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Matt's answering in the chat, but whatever. I'm going to tell everybody. So, as far as our pledge levels for Oath of the Frozen King, I'm sure there's a link maybe in the description to go to the Kickstarter. And if you go there, $1 gets you a link to the private live stream that we'll be doing sometime after the Kickstarter ends. There's going to be a private live stream for all the backers, whether $1 or $50 or anything above that. And that's what you get for that. For $10, you get that as well as the PDF of Oath of the Frozen King, both printer-friendly and full color. But it's important to realize that the Kickstarter version of the book is coming with a short production diary that is only going to be in this version. There's going to be cool sketches with little notes, art, some of the in-progress art from some of the artists we work with, maybe some, I don't know, bloopers. There's sure to be some stupid jokes that nobody will get by us. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff in there. It'll probably be, you know, a couple pages of cool stuff that you'll only get in the Kickstarter version. That's the $10. The $25 is all of that same thing, except you get the physical book. We're going to send you a soft cover version of the Oath of the Frozen King when it's all finished, and that's for $25. It also comes with the PDFs and the private live stream and the production diary. Then there is the $35 level. Like I said, all of that same stuff, still the soft cover book, still the production diary. You get your name in the book, but we also give you a digital copy of our infamous, one of our best-selling books. It's called Be a Better Campaign Master, and it's a really cool campaign building guide that we've already come out with. You can buy it right now on Absolute Tabletop for $10, or if you pledge $35, you'll get it shortly after the campaign ends for Oath of the Frozen King, and it's actually a pretty good deal. And then the last one is the $50 pledge. All of that same stuff, your name in the book, the softcover book, the private live stream, the digital copies, everything there. But then you also get 17 PDFs that we've previously released. Every single PDF that's currently on our website, I believe, 17 of them for the $50 pledge level. So kind of an unbeatable deal there. Yeah, I'd say that about sums it up. Like you said, you still get the physical copy and everything like that. But I just wanted to go over those pledge levels real quick for anyone that's interested.
Yeah, no, that's good. And yeah, it seems like good value for sure. And you guys always put out great products. And I encourage everyone, once again, go to absolutetabletop.com and check out the reviews. Go to Drive Through RPG, check out reviews there. People seem to love them, and I know I do. There was a question in here from what you're looking at about. Let's see, where was it? What about an adventure kit in the form of decks or cards? One deck is locations, one is baddies, one is loot, etc. Shuffle deck and pick some at random. Yeah. Anyway, thoughts on that?
So very much yes. So that is absolutely something we're planning on doing. But this Kickstarter is very important to us because we want to be certain to nail it. So no add-ons, just the book, and any of the stretch goals, anything related to the Kickstarter, all adds to the book and things that you can easily use at the table that we already have finished. So those things will come in the future. We were just having a conversation yesterday about an Oath of the Frozen King DM screen with the toolbox on it. But we don't want to link that stuff to the Kickstarter because we want to deliver a book. We want to deliver it as early as possible, and we want to make sure that it is as streamlined of a process because it's important to us that people are trusting us. And so, yes, yes, yes. But once the book is finished, we will do those things autonomous of Kickstarter, very likely through our site. Those kinds of things we have planned. There's no definitive, but we are looking into that very heavily for sure.
Yep. Yeah. And I remember, I think there was a comment on the Kickstarter or somewhere, someone said something like, oh, here, let me just try this little Kickstarter here. Oh no, it's on fire. And it's like, you guys are really trying to limit this thing, but people are giving you so much dang money. Like,
yeah.
So that's a good problem to have. But yeah, no, I think we all respect that and really appreciate that about what you guys are doing, keeping it reasonable so you can deliver.
And I'll never stop thanking everybody for that. It's blown us away, and every single day it blows us away. And we knew that we were going to hit our $500 goal because we have just such an awesome community. But I'm constantly floored and constant gratitude your way.
Yeah, and this Jason Anders says you guys have it nailed, Tim. LOL. And I'll say yeah, but we've all seen Kickstarters that. They've nailed it in terms of raising a ton of money, but delivering is a different matter.
Yeah, I think that I've probably been the worst about it because going into the Kickstarter, I've been so squeamish. And I think that we first started talking about Kickstarters maybe a year or a little over a year ago. And I'm just no, we're not. I don't know if I'll ever be okay doing a Kickstarter just because I've seen so many companies with the best intentions go into a Kickstarter, do really well, and get overwhelmed with the whole process. But now that we have our production like figured out, have the scheduling figured out, we know what we're doing, we know how to deliver products, like it's like the perfect time to do this and try out a new way of funding books and getting them out to people. So I'm just really excited about it. I went from being like so hesitant about it to just super gung-ho about it. So sorry, I stepped all over you there, James. Go ahead.
Oh, no. My computer does this thing where it freezes sometimes, and it did that the moment I started talking, so I thought, they didn't hear me.
Matt gets the pass.
Yeah, exactly. I don't remember what I was going to say about that. But, that's what I was going to say. Some of those people that may not be as familiar with us, we have, like I mentioned earlier about the big bundle we have, up to this point, published 17 books successfully, sold them on our website, as well as we currently have 3, correct me if I'm wrong, there are 3 print books that you can purchase. We figured out the printing and making them look right and getting all the colors correct and all of that stuff. So now that is all out of the way, Kickstarter was our next thing to, like our next mountain to climb. But I cannot imagine being a company. I mean, we've been around, like we talked about, nearly 2 years now. And we figured out how to make books and get people books and sell books. And we figured out how to write them and do all this. I can't imagine running a Kickstarter, raising a bunch of money, and then saying, all right, guys, we have to figure out how to write books, what people like, how to distribute them, make a website, figure out printing, like all of that. Like, I totally get why Kickstarters take a year and a half, 2 years, 3, 4, 5 years to get their products to you, because they have no idea. So luckily it will be, another day at the office for us to make sure this book is really high quality, get it out to you guys, and be able to send it. And I just wanted to bring that up. That's part of the reason we're so confident, but also part of the reason we waited so long to go into Kickstarter, so that we had the rest of the stuff figured out. So if we inevitably screw up something on Kickstarter, it won't be a problem.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. There's another question. Oh, why no hardcover option? Jason Anderson asks that.
So my main thing about the hardcover option is because we are shooting for a relatively short book for us. I say that because we have books that are 120 plus pages that would like really do well for a hardcover version. The main thing is, even originally this thing was a little smaller. It's gotten bigger, like Barker said, 40, 50, maybe 60 pages. And that just doesn't really work great for a hardcover book. I don't know if you have any like sort of that size hardcover books. I don't know. I don't want to say it's chintzy, but it's kind of chintzy. Like they're not long enough to be hardcover. That's
the cover's thicker than the pages. Yeah, it just feels.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate it.
Yeah, so like here I've got one that is 128 pages, and it's not hardcover. And yeah, I don't know if I would want this thing hardcover necessarily.
Exactly. So like some longer books, definitely we plan on it, but as cool as it might be to see a hardcover, I think it would just look really cheesy sitting on a shelf, and we didn't want to sort of do that. It just didn't seem to fit,
And then, in addition to that too, going into this, learning, that would make us beholden to a page number, because to have a hardcover book, you have to have a certain number of pages, and we wanted to have no boundary. We wanted the product to be the best product it could be, content-wise and art-wise, and not have this lingering sort of vulture that was like, hey, don't forget, you need to have this many pages for it to be a hardcover. It's like, nope, no add-ons, no tag-alongs, just awesome, easy-to-use content in a soft cover so you can fold it back at a Starbucks and just go nuts.
Yeah, and another question somebody asked that, again, I just want to cover quickly because this is a thing that I run into on Kickstarters, and I'm very happy that I'm not that I am not international to wherever these people are. Currently, for us, all of the backer levels are the price you see. There's no added international shipping. So if international shipping is something that concerns you, don't worry about it. If, at least for this one, it's completely free. Like I said, the price you see on the pledge is the price you're paying. So even if you live in Australia or, I don't know, other places that are far away, I felt like if I said a place was far away and it wasn't that far away, I would offend people that lived there. Like, oh, Lithuania. And they're like, it's not that far, jerk. But so Yeah, basically just letting everybody know international shipping is included. And so I don't know, that's a big deal for us because I know people don't back stuff because they're like, yeah, it's $30, but I got to pay $15 to get it out here to Australia.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, and it's pretty rare that that companies do that. So kudos to you guys for that. That's really cool. Lots of questions here. We're going to wrap things up in just a couple minutes here, but we'll take a couple more. Critical Masterpiece asks about, is this a one-time kit, or do you all plan on making more in the future? And you guys have already said you're planning to make more, so that's awesome. Tim, you have beautiful eyes, according to the XP official.
I would like to second the XP official's statement.
Wait, I get XP for that? I'm
so.
down with that. I just leveled up.
Tim, take a point of inspiration. I don't know. Did you guys see any? I haven't been keeping up with the questions very well. So have you seen any? Oh, I'll just address one that's come up in the chat that you guys have addressed in the chat, but I am pumped to hear about. John Jarvis asked, by the way, how is that awesome ass setting of Harbinger coming along? And Matt, you said in the chat that there's going to be some kind of big news May 19th, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah, May 19th, we're going to be sending out a newsletter with some Harbinger stuff. We're going to be providing some cool stuff to people that are interested in Harbinger, and probably announce the date for version 0.2 of the playtest, which is going to have some new archetypes, weapon attachments, retooled classes, all kinds of cool stuff.
And it might, I don't know if this is solid yet, but it might have the tiniest little bit of art in there. Is that right?
We're going to be sharing some official Harbinger art on May 19th that will be included in version 0.2 of the playtest. So
that is also very exciting.
Oh, yeah, my awesome. Gundam.
Yeah.
My Gundam.
So for those who don't know, Harbinger is a setting you guys are working on. Excuse me. That is a dark science fantasy. So yeah, you can read more about that on the Absolute Tabletop blog. Go to absolute.tabletop.com/blog, maybe?
News.absolutetabletop.com.
There we go. News.absolutetabletop.com. Yeah, and it looks really cool as well. So you guys have got a lot of good things going. But it does strike me that you guys are really putting your focus on delivering on this Kickstarter, and I think that's you guys are doing it right. Even though you got a lot of cool things going, you're doing it right here. So
thanks, man.
Harbinger, the XP official asked, does Harbinger work with 5e? And yes, it does. It is. Yeah, I would almost compare it to a little bit of like Adventures in Middle Earth.
That's exactly what it is. Yep.
You know, that book, it is totally 5e compatible, but it's new classes and archetypes and weapons and
a setting. Yeah.
Yeah, and a whole new magic system. We have a magic system in it called Astra, which is sort of a high risk, high reward magic system, kind of similar to like a Dungeon Crawl Classics magic system, where you can push yourself to the limits to have these incredibly powerful magical effects, but then you have to deal with the consequences of, utilizing that energy. So
yeah, so it is a 5th edition game that uses the open gaming license. So basically, it uses 5th edition rules, and then we just change some of them. So in the rules for the playtest, the idea is if you don't see something, you're like, oh well, a strength check is still a strength check. It's all the same.
And we would love for all of you to playtest the game. Right now, the playtest is currently, as far as this version, we're not taking feedback, but what we can do is probably provide the link to Nate in this video so that after we're done, you guys can go to the page, sign up for it, and when version 0.2 comes out, you will be one of the first to get that. And we would love to hear your feedback and hear how it goes at your table.
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely add the link in the description, just right below the Kickstarter or the Oath of the Frozen King links. So yeah, definitely check that out. And they're also linking it in the chat right now. So yeah, I think we're going to wrap this one up, guys. But I will say the Kickstarter has how many days left? What, like 15?
21
days?
Man.
I'm like, that is too long. There's too much time.
21 days.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, exactly. I'm
my
like, that
mind's
would be much easier.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I want to thank you guys very much for being here and talking to us, and for just for being great members of the RPG community. I'll encourage people to go to Absolute Tabletop on Facebook. The Absolute Tabletop group is just a hub of such positivity and inspiration. It's a place where I hang out a lot. And I'm always lurking in the comments there, and just, being inspired every day by stuff people are posting. People are playing games and posting online games. So yeah, definitely check that out. And then I will also say I will be running a Oath of the Frozen King one-shot this coming Saturday. Got some really cool players, and we're going to be going live at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And I hope you can join us. So anything else you guys want to say before we sign off here?
I just want to say thanks for having us on, man. It's been great hanging out and talking with you, and it's always a pleasure.
And you're a great member of the community too, Nate, for sure.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. All right. So yeah, everyone, make sure you go to Kickstarter, link in the description, check it out, and tune in this Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern time here on WASD 20 to see me running a game using this thing. And yeah, I'm loving it. I'm not doing much prep because I don't need to, because it's just an awesome little toolkit. So yeah, it's great. All right. Thanks again, guys. Thank you for the 40 to 50 viewers who have been hanging out with us. And everybody take care. You'll see us all again very soon.